All right. It looks like we got some positive Caitlin Clark news. It looks like the GOAT will be back for tomorrow's game versus the LA Sparks, but there will be a minutes restriction. Apparently, she'll be playing about 20 minutes, and she probably will not play the following game versus the Phoenix Mercury. So we got some good news, got some bad news. She spoke about it. We got practice footage. Much to get into, man. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification, hype the video. That'd be greatly appreciated. Let's get right into things. Caitlin Clark did take the practice court today. Let's get into
What happens when the most electric, dominant box office attraction in the history of professional basketball is completely cleared to play, but her own organization decides to actively keep her chained to the bench? The entire sports world is completely reeling after a highly frustrating, shocking medical update out of the Indiana camp has officially confirmed that Caitlin Clark is being placed on a rigid, heavily monitored minutes restriction. Fans are absolutely furious, social media is completely on fire, and the massive disconnect between a hyper-competitive superstar and a completely hands-off coaching staff has just been utterly exposed to national television. You are locked into WNBA Watch, the absolute, undisputed authority on the raw, unvarnished truth behind the biggest cover-ups, boardroom politics.
Difficult for me to play both this one on Wednesday and then obviously the one on Thursday, but we'll see. Not from, a health standpoint. Well,
Man, y'all should be able to beat the crap out of the Sparks. You should be able to play basketball 2 days in a row, bro. Like, come on, man. Come on, Caitlin. Come on. I'm not trying to have to watch Alyssa Thomas and Dewana Bonner without you on the floor. We want the spice. We want the sizzle. Come on. Play both the games. We'll probably blow out the Sparks anyway.
obviously a health standpoint, but just getting back into it, like I would assume.
And hidden agendas in professional basketball. Smash that subscribe button right now, hit the like button, and let's dive directly into the absolute administrative disaster currently paralyzing the Indiana front office. To truly understand the intense, boiling frustration radiating through the fan base, you have to look directly at the fresh practice footage that just dropped from the West Coast. Clark took the hardwood, and to the naked eye, she looked absolutely phenomenal. Her elite, limitless three-point shot was flowing with absolute robotic precision. Her lateral quickness was entirely intact, and she was moving with the exact same explosive energy that completely redefined the sport. There was absolutely zero visible limp, zero hesitation in her release, and zero indication that she was dealing with a debilitating physical setback. Yet, despite her own glowing optimism and pristine physical display, the organization has decided to slap her with a strict limit of barely 20 minutes for the highly anticipated matchup against the Los Angeles Sparks. Even worse, they are already laying the corporate groundwork to completely scratch her from the following marquee game against the Phoenix Mercury. It is an absolute, mind-boggling buzzkill for millions of viewers who buy tickets specifically to see generational greatness, and it raises a massive, terrifying question about who is actually running this team. The sheer, unadulterated absurdity of this situation reached a complete boiling point when head coach Stephanie White stepped up to the microphone and delivered one of the most stunningly defensive, hands-off quotes of the entire season. When aggressively pressed by reporters on how she plans to manage her superstars' availability and navigate this highly controversial resting timeline, White completely deflected all personal accountability, flatly stating that she simply does what she is told and actively stays in her own lane. It was a completely shocking, highly alarming admission from a professional leader. A championship-tier coach is supposed to be fiercely locked in with their training staff, actively advocating for their franchise player, and constructing dynamic tactical blueprints to maximize their time on the hardwood. Instead, White essentially admitted to the entire world that she is operating as a passive bystander, content to let unnamed corporate medical executives dictate the entire competitive trajectory of the franchise while she blindly follows orders. This passive, bureaucratic approach is creating a massive, highly visible rift when you contrast it directly with Clark's explicit, raw desire to compete. During her own media session, the generational point guard completely admitted that sitting on the bench takes immense mental resiliency and that she is doing absolutely everything in her physical power to stay on the court. She openly talked about the brutal reality of a grueling 11-day road trip, navigating 4-hour plane rides, and the undeniable physical stiffness that comes with sleeping in different hotels every single night. But despite those standard professional grinds, she wanted to play. She explicitly stated she was highly hopeful to navigate the back-to-back schedule. But the rigid corporate mandate above her has essentially taken the decision entirely out of her hands. It is a deeply frustrating pattern of an organization choosing ultra-conservative caution over competitive fire, completely robbing the league of a legendary, high-stakes showdown against the veteran heavyweights in Phoenix. However, even under this immense corporate pressure and physical management, Clark managed to show the exact type of raw, unbothered charisma that has completely captured the hearts of millions of American sports fans. She hilariously broke down the team's recent bonding activities, revealing a lavish team dinner at Nobu in Malibu, followed by a trip to the gaming tables in Las Vegas. Clark completely embraced her competitive nature off the floor, openly admitting to reporters that she is a massive fan of blackjack and roulette, even joking about how her favorite number 22 hasn't hit yet, but that she feels completely confident she will get even when the team returns to Nevada later on the road trip. It was a beautiful, highly refreshing reminder that despite being treated like a corporate commodity by her own front office, she remains an incredibly grounded, hyper-competitive 24-year-old who just wants to live her life.
8 days or whatever it was, and you get so in a groove of, going from scout to scout and, knowing what people are going to do, and then you have some time off and you're back to, like, it kind of has that training camp feel and get back into the swing of things. I thought obviously everybody came out and played really well versus Vegas, and, this is a long trip for us, 11 days. You have to keep building and finding ways to win, but, even for myself, obviously having missed the 2 games, it feels even longer, like I've had this really long break, but at the same time, get your body right and then your mind right and get back into it.
How's the team bonding been? What do you learn?
And enjoy the game with her teammates. But while the off-court chemistry is quietly building, the tactical analysis coming from the bench during her recent absence requires a serious, fact-based reality check. Clark noted during her media session that she was closely analyzing the team's defensive schemes from the sidelines, praising the roster's recent physicality and ability to protect the paint against top-tier competition. But as the undisputed authority on the game, we have to inject some absolute reality into that narrative. It is exponentially easier to look like a defensive juggernaut when the opposing team's multi-time MVP and absolute offensive anchor, Aya Wilson, is forcefully sidelined from the game.
On her availability for tomorrow's game and going forward, Stephanie White spoke on a couple things. Let's get into that.
I think just, not really feeling like we had the ability to open up a roster spot. I think that's the great thing about these development spots, and the challenging thing about these development spots is that you have opportunity to develop players, and then when they get an opportunity to...
While the defensive effort from the supporting cast was entirely commendable, assuming this current roster configuration has magically solved its deep defensive deficiencies without their generational point guard on the floor is a massive, highly dangerous illusion that will completely shatter the absolute second they face a fully healthy, championship-tier offense. The deep-seated strategic blindness of this coaching staff becomes even more infuriating when you analyze White's highly defensive comments regarding recent roster management and contract distributions. White spent a massive portion of her press conference defending the organization's use of development spots and standard contracts, specifically praising struggling veteran pieces like Damiris Dantas, claiming she embodies a stay-ready mentality that actively pours into the team's culture. But let's be completely honest. The fans are absolutely sick and tired of hearing about culture points while the product on the floor completely suffers. The front office has committed catastrophic, mind-boggling blunders by wasting standard roster spots on legacy veterans who can no longer physically produce at an elite level, while completely failing to sign dynamic, young spacing threats who can actually run the floor and capitalize on Clark's historic court vision. They are actively prioritizing locker room comfort over raw, unadulterated talent, and it is completely sabotaging the team's long-term ceiling. We are currently watching a highly toxic, deeply frustrating standoff between a generational icon who desperately wants to hoop and a front office establishment that is completely paralyzed by bureaucratic caution and questionable roster philosophies. You cannot treat a once-in-a-generation superstar like a fragile museum piece while simultaneously running an offensive system that completely refuses to maximize her transcendent skill set. If Stephanie White continues to stay in her lane and passively watch this franchise operate in mediocrity, then the fan base has every single right to completely demand a massive, sweeping organizational overhaul. I want to hear your absolute raw, unfiltered thoughts down in the comments below. Do you believe this highly restrictive minutes mandate is a legitimate medical necessity? Or is it just another glaring example of the Indiana coaching staff completely mismanaging their franchise player? Drop your absolute best takes below. Smash that subscribe button to stay permanently locked into the absolute truth. And I will see you all in the very next deep dive.